Like,
Okay, we're ready.
okay, thanks, Angela.
You're welcome.
Welcome, everybody. We'll call the meeting to order. First item of business is the recognition of the traditional territories. As chairperson, I acknowledge that the land on which the fallen firefighter Memorial Task Force meets today is the traditional territory of the Haudenosaunee and Anishinaabe peoples, many of whom continue to live and work here today. This territory is covered by the Upper Canada Treaties and is within the land protected by the Dish with One Spoon Wampum Agreement. Today, this gathering place is the home to many First Nations, Métis, and Inuit peoples. Acknowledging this is a reminder that our great standard of living is directly related to the resources and friendship of Indigenous peoples. Any additions or deletions to the agenda? I don't see any, so we'll have a motion to approve the agenda. Moved by Councillor Dodge, seconded.
I second.
Thank you, Nancy. And the minutes that were circulated, as stated, go back a number of months to last spring, which was, I think, our last formal meeting. The ones I have are May 14. So they've been circulated a few times over the year, I think. So we need a motion to adopt the minutes from May 14. Thank you. Moved by Ryan, seconder. Councillor Dodge, thank you. All those in favor? I forgot to ask the question. Opposed, if any? Thank you. Any declarations of interest? None. Presentations from invited guests? None. Business arising. So I will combine really all the items that arose from the last meeting and the updates as presented in the agenda into one just sort of general update, since it's been a while since we all met. I will state that Councillor Dodge, a lot of this might be new for you, but most of the other people on the call have been updated as we go here. So happy to have you on. We want to make sure we're living up to our obligations as a standing task force here at the city. Busy week. Apparently there's an election going on. Apparently the state of the city, mayor's state of the city address, I'm sure he's rehearsing right now. So appreciate everybody carving out a little time. We did feel because the project really is shifting into a completely different phase. It has been shifting into more of a construction and completion phase really since last fall. But it's moving a little more further toward that. And we have a few items to update on that front. The primary reason for not really having a whole bunch of these formal meetings over the last number of months is I was able to provide a few updates via email, and we were really into the final stages of fundraising, which was a core hoped for deliverable of the committee in general, and moving more into the execution phase. So not a lot of activity for people, at least at the discussion level. So, rather than take up people's time, we used emails, etc., a few phone calls here and there to keep everybody updated. So it's long overdue, and appreciate, as stated, everybody getting on. So I'll start with fundraising, which, is sort of the linchpin of the whole project. And we've had excellent developments. There's really no other way to characterize it over the last number of months. Our stated goal of we have 5 major sponsors is completed, and in this case, all monies are in the bank or pledged with deposits underway. In addition to that, we have 2 other sponsors at the 25 range. They're essentially ad hoc sponsorships that we sold along the way. You kind of math your way forward here. The bench and tree total moves around a little bit, but I have it at 13 at $10,000 each. Again, except for a couple, all pledges or cash are already in. Very little to do on the collection side of that. Our largest gap, based on previous meetings, going back over a year, was the pathway stones or the paving stones Um, we only had at any point in time less than a quarter of those sold. We were getting close to our budget anyway. We had provided a little bit of flexibility, but I'm happy to say that we have sold 150 additional paving stones. And this was to the members of the St. Catherine's Club. And as many of you know, the St. Catherine's Club closed. And so, as a not for profit a community entity, there's requirements to distribute net residual proceeds to the other not for profits or community endeavors. So, we were fortunate to be able to work with the disbursement group at St. Catherine's Club to sell all 100 to sell 150, which is an additional $60,000 in. So I've mathed this thing 4 or 5 different ways, and we've been fortunate with our contractor that they have essentially held price on a project that they quoted 2, 3 years ago. And we all know prices have gone up, but they've been pretty good on holding price. So um, by every measurable that I have, we have residual proceeds here for the project, and that's even accounting for some assumed for increase in installation and costs, etc. So we're in excellent shape from a fundraising perspective, and we will be able to maybe even have some residual funds for future ceremonies or future engraving or things like that. We'll make those decisions as we know once the project moves to completion. So um, the next step with all the fundraisers is to organize their details, which is no small task. I can confirm that I now have either the final artwork or close to it from all major donors. So that goes directly to our contractor who does that engraving themselves. That wall is completed, by the way, which is the major wall that actually has the name on the one side on the McGuire Street side. And then the 5 large donors on the interior panel, they each have a set uh, space that they can commit to. And we've got all that in pretty good stuff. Not a lot of wording. I think it'll be very tasteful. Um, we were also able to sell a couple of sides of the additional piece that the contractor provided, which is, if you recall, there's, I believe it's boot and hat that they donated, which will be on a pedestal. So 2 panels of that are committed to. We have a little flexibility for future engravings on the other side of it, and so now we got to swing to the trees and the benches, and I'm waiting confirmation from the contractor on exact panel size, but we'll get that one out, as soon as we get that. The paving stones or the pathway stones are a little more laborious. And as always, Lori from the city has offered to take leadership on all this and has done a lot of work on it already, communicating with all the people that have committed dollars on multiple occasions, including before the end of the year. But I'm trying to, I think we can maybe provide some administrative assistance on that through what we're doing at the club. So we're going to try to get that rolling as well in the next week or so, and assist with collecting all the club names, et cetera. So it's not an overly arduous task for Lori and her team and her staff there, but because they frankly have done more than I think any of us anticipated, and you'll have my and the rest of this committee's eternal gratitude, Lori, for all of that. So that being said, the next item to talk about is actual installation and construction. But I'll pause for a second just to see if there's any questions. We'll do full Q&A at the end. So if you prefer to save it to the end, but before I move to more the execution and construction phase, I'll just pause to see if there's any questions or clarifications required on the sort of fundraising and detail. And by the way, yeah, no, I'll stop there and pause for a sec. Right?
Hi, Barry. before we move on to the installation and the more details of the putting the whole thing together, I just wanted to say at this point how appreciative that we are, the St. Catharines Professional Firefighters Association, of the work that you've done as the chair of this committee and the real fundraising lead, and also our gratitude to the members of the St. Catharines Club for choosing to support this as one of their charities of choice as they disbanded. So thank you so much.
Thanks, Ryan. Listen, buddy, we've been a decade since you and I have been talking about this, so we'll have there will be the club, by the way, is donating to 8 other community groups, and there will be sort of a wind up event, and we want this committee and members of the association there as well. So it's yeah, the whole idea was to have a nice soft landing for the place, and this is a beautiful way for people to be commemorated essentially over time. So it all worked out, man. But thank you, I appreciate that. Um, okay, moving to installation. This I'm slowly but surely getting out of my comfort zone on this entire project. I'm far more comfortable on the fundraising side than I am on this side of it, and so I've been utilizing our 2 staff members on this committee, primarily Chief Upper and Lori, to assist me in getting things organized with the city and the city staff that has responsibility in this arena. This is a unique undertaking in that we have a private third-party contractor that essentially an ad hoc committee is paying for something that is taking place on city-owned land and has to adhere to, all the various things related to that. So it's not an easy one. There's no specific lead on it per se. So I believe our contractor's fantastic. She's been extremely patient and has, as I stated earlier, held the line and continually requires assistance in getting things done. We did get a little bit done before the weather. I don't know if any of you have had a chance to go by there, but we did get the concrete base poured. We got some benches installed, some step down power, flagpoles are up, things like that. So we still are in a little bit of weather challenge, I think, to move at least aggressively to the next phases of construction. But that's essentially what we're going to do next. And so I'll be talking to Melanie, and hopefully we'll get a meeting together to really get that going. But assuming I see the longest lead item that I'm familiar with anyway on the actual installation of the park itself is the statue that will be in the center, which the contractor is third partying as well to somebody that specializes in that kind of artwork. And although they've worked with them in the past, I did see it at its current stage of development. To my non-artistic, untrained eye, it looks completed. There's obviously more to go, but that will not get in the way. We have our longest lead items now are the brass plate engravings, and we have that out at 8 weeks. So given the fact that this is plus or minus March 1, we are hopeful that over the next 2 months, everything is done on this end, and then construction, which will be a combination of weather availability and maybe some logistics that I don't know. Realistically, it would be ideal for it to be done in that time, but given the fact that March may be a crappy weather month, this may spill into May. But I really don't think there's a reason for it to go past May. So I think that, it's a guess, being candid, but knowing the variables at play here. And listen, this is construction, and there's never been a construction project in the history of construction that came in on time. So we need to prepare ourselves for some flexibility. But even if I give it all of May as flexibility, I would say that this project's completed by the spring, and enjoyed by the public this summer, and be a proud moment for all of us and for the city. So other than I don't really, I wish I could give you a little more detail on how the construction process rolled out. So it's out of my depth. And as stated, the next step in this process is to get the people that are responsible for that decision making. Partly why I wanted to get this meeting out of the way. Um, you know, this messaging will go through city staff. This will go through city council, and just to ensure that everybody's aligned to do their part to get the construction piece underway and completed. So that's the gist of it from my end with respect to updates. We're obviously I'm thrilled that on the dollar side of it, and I have a lot of confidence in everybody else that's responsible for the other side of it, meaning the compliance with the city and then the actual construction. So it's a good update. But yeah, let's entertain any questions on any aspect of this. Anything I've said or anything I've forgotten, I'll open it up to the floor. Ryan?
Thanks, Barry. It does feel really good to be getting this close to
We're getting there.
and as you said, it has been a long time. And boy, oh boy, I remember the meetings years ago where we were sitting around talking about what parcel of land to choose and what the city had available. And of course, thanks to the city for making that land available. It's been a long journey, and I know we're not there yet until it's all done, but it really feels good to be this close. But I should have said this under declarations of interest, but a new member for us from the association is Mark Delario. He's our, I say new vice president. He's not that new to us, but he's new to this committee. So I just wanted to introduce everyone to Mark. And also, I believe this should be directed through the chair to Lori. Is it possible to get, because it has been several years and we do have a new association executive board, is it possible to get a picture of what would be engraved on our major donors pillar, just to review with them, just to make sure they're all good with it, please?
You still have the option, right? I'm sorry, Lori, did you, I mean, the because I've been handling the major donor piece. So uh, you still have the option at this juncture in time to alter whatever the original plan was. I can send you the dimensions of the panel that the association purchased. Is it a union or association? What's the right terminology?
We're both. I say
Okay.
you.
Okay.
It's much more fan friendly to say association.
Okay. So yeah, so I can resend, so because the engraving as that won't be a holdup in this. I mean, unless you come up with something crazy elaborate, but I don't think that'll be the thing. That shows the dimensions that are available, and so you can kind of pick. And then I send that to Melanie, and she does a mock-up internally that we send to you to approve and sign off on. So that's where I'm at with Rankin and Cullen, like the others that you guys are familiar with that have purchased majors. Would that help? If
Yeah.
you got and welcome, Mark, by the way, should have led with that. But
Thank you.
yeah, so maybe it's been a long time, Ryan. It's a good point. I mean, you guys were the very first major donor when the thing kind of came out of the gates, right? So good idea to revisit it anyway, I think. And I'll fire that over to you. It's funny, I was going back and forth with former Mayor Senzik today, who also through the golf tournament is has a major panel as well. So we were kind of finalizing, that piece of it. So I sent him the dimension thing, so I have it ready to go. I'll fire it over to you as soon as we get off the call.
Great. Thank you, Barry.
Who's next? Come on, Councilor Dodge. You can't get out of a meeting without having a question for me. So go ahead.
that.
You're on
Oh,
mute,
geez.
Janet.
Sorry. Actually, first of all, I'd like to say congratulations on all the hard work that everybody's put into this. And it's nice to see that you're so close to the finish line and it's going to be a dream and it's coming to fruition now. So it's pretty exciting for everyone involved for sure. I was just wondering if is this the time I could start to give some updates at council about the progress and where we're going to be kind of thing, or do you want me to still hold off a little bit on that? What's your thoughts on that?
I think it's a good idea, but let me get my initial reaction. First of all, thank you, and second of all, thank you for offering to get this to council. I think we need to do that. I think that that's a good idea. We want to get it on the radar, but I'd like to get that meeting that I talked about out of the way, so we have at least some detail on the construction installation piece, just in case what I'm providing here has nuance to it or specifics to it that I'm unaware of. As stated, I don't feel confident in 100% confident, at least in committing to these timelines and certainly putting them in a public forum like council. I don't mind
Okay.
saying them now because I think that there's logic and reasoning to them, but I'd like to get some input, councillor, from the staff of the city that'll be involved in this, in addition to the contractor. Then I think when we sort of, then we'll shape a schedule of some kind, and of course the other part of it, with the success of the fundraising campaign and all that. Of course, we want a council to know, those councillors that were around in the previous term that had the foresight to do all this should be aware of all that stuff. So does that make sense? Let
Yeah.
us essentially get that meeting out of the way, just so when,
Yeah.
when you actually do it, we have a bit more confidence in the timeline I'm suggesting.
Absolutely. No, I'm ready whenever you guys are ready. Just give me the word and we'll move forward with that.
Appreciate
Uh,
that. Appreciate that.
Along those lines, I know that this is probably premature, but you're thinking that end of May, ballpark. Are you going to have like an official opening or something like that after that? Like what's your time frame for that, do you think? Or is this too
I
soon to
think
ask?
it's a great question. And I think candidly, it'll be up to this committee to decide. But yes, in anecdotal conversations with individuals, so I'm bringing for, we haven't met in a while, so I'm bringing forward, conversations. The goal has always been to have an official ceremony, and in I would be a strong advocate of acknowledging the community members that finance this. I
Hmm.
think they they deserve the recognition, as do others that have put in. And again, it'll be up to this committee to sort of decide once we put some shape to that. But that was always the goal, is to have the but I wouldn't blur that with the uh, ceremony to acknowledge the fallen firefighters. I don't want to put words in the mouth of the people on the call, but our discussion previous was that will be an annual, that will take place there, and obviously, the first one will be when it'll be. I don't think, and guys, I'll shut up in a minute. Correct me if I'm wrong, but and gals, Andrea, but this will be more the acknowledgement of the completion of the park, the erection of the statues, and all that, versus uh, specific ceremony that'll take place annually. So that's the current idea, and it's an important agenda item for me to bring back for future meetings. But again, I'd like to hear what the association and firefighters think of this. Right?
Thanks, Barry. Just speaking for myself, I think that what you just outlined is a great way to move forward, to have an unveiling and to thank the people that contributed and to speak about what the memorial means. And then at a set time every year, we have a proper memorial for those that are recognized on there. So I think that's a great plan.
Yeah, but thank you. My family's a a little atypical because of my involvement, but I mean, I think we would fall, my late stepfather-in-law was a fallen firefighter, as most of you know,
Okay.
and our family bought a tree, so our family will be at the unveiling um, as a donator, and we'll be at the ceremony as the family of a fallen firefighter. Two different things, but the same, right? So we're in alignment on that, I think. I'm not going to call it vote or anything because we got to put some details around it, but as long as we're notionally in advance of that, we'll. And then, yeah, I think the unveiling is a community acknowledgement and celebration of kind, long overdue, frankly, and but the recognition of the fallen, that's a completely different thing. Anything else? Nancy, you don't have anything for me either?
Yeah, I'm here.
Okay.
Actually, I had someone ask me, they wanted to make donations to the memorial at Christmas time, but not in memory of someone, but in honor of someone. And they weren't able to do that. Can that be changed?
Well, I mean, I guess the easy answer would be ideally they would fit into the one of the categories that we have, such as a pathway stone. There's still some availability there.
Okay.
And we the way I mathed it out in advance of this meeting was there will still be pathway stones
Okay.
unengraved
Okay.
for future, and we still have two panels on the donated piece that have kind of been left for the potential for future. We obviously, sadly, will have
Yes.
space on the wall too, right?
Yeah.
Um, so it's a good question, and one we should probably allow for some sort of donation component that exists after this task force disbands, that I would assume would be administrated through the city in a similar fashion as
Okay.
yeah. Does that make sense to everybody?
Yes.
But let's keep that as an agenda item, so at least we have a process in place that we all agreed to, and maybe options available for future donations.
Okay. Thank you.
That's a great point. It's a great point. Never, we're all focused on getting this over the line, but there's a whole world that exists after that.
Well, there's a lot of people that, want to donate to it, but not, they were trying at Christmas time to do it instead of buying something for someone, putting it towards the memorial, and they couldn't do it online because it wasn't in memory. It was in honor of. So they just asked me if I would check.
Yeah. I mean, you can always buy a path. I don't know what their dollar figure is. And you're right, that may be challenging if they were at a higher dollar level, but certainly the pathway stones are not designed to be memorial per se.
Okay.
They're designed to be put whatever you want on it.
On them. Okay.
And we've sort of tried to position them as a way for the community to participate, in kind of a non-memorial fashion.
Okay. Thank you.
Any other questions, comments, concerns, contributions to the no? Seeing none, we will. I don't know if we'll have a meeting next month, just being honest. So stay tuned to your emails. I think there's a likelihood we will, but want to get this meeting and a few of these details out of the way. Obviously, if we can do anything via email updates to save people some time, we'll do that. But it feels like we're going to have to meet a little more frequently than we have been, given the sort of turning point we're at. So thank you to everybody for your patience over this time, and especially when there was a month or two here when you weren't hearing anything. I can assure you we were hard at work, but apologies if there was any gaps in the communication. Having said that, we'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
I motion.
Okay. Trevor and Nancy.
Yes.
All those in favor? Carried. Thanks again, everybody.
Thank
those of
you.
you attending, I have one extra ticket, by the way, for the State of the City, if anybody would like to join us at our table. Um, and and if not, I hope I'll see a few of you there.
We'll see you there, Barry. Thank you.
Okay.